Hi, I'm Cherie Fogarty, founder of Creating My Best Life and Habit Gratitude for Kids, where we show you how to get happier, more grateful children and be happier, more grateful yourself. And this week's weekly tip for busy moms and dads too is to celebrate Memorial Day. If you're watching this video before you have a Memorial Day parade in your town, go to it, take your kids to it. Hold up signs and say thank you for your service, or thank you, just clap, wave flags. It's a wonderful thing to do. And the reason we want to do this is because we live in an amazing country. We have to remind our children and remember ourselves, or teach our children to begin with, that we need to celebrate where we live, to be grateful that we live in this country. Because you know what, despite all the problems that every place has, it's still one of, if not the best places in the world to live. As a woman who has 4 daughters, I tell my girls every chance I get how lucky they are to have been born in this country in this time. And all you have to do is turn on the news and see what's happening around the world to really remember and appreciate that. But it's our job as parents to teach our children to appreciate and be grateful for the country we live in too. It isn't something we should take for granted, but of course we too often do because we're not focused on it. So this week is all about focusing our thoughts and awareness on the country we live in and being grateful and appreciative for us. So if all you want to do is focus your thoughts on it, that's great. That's your tip for the week. But I also have some other ideas, and it may be more than one thing, but I think it's so important it's worth talking about, and then you can decide what you want to do. So the bottom line is focusing your thoughts. If you can go to the parade, if it hasn't happened already, fantastic. If not, no big deal. There are so many other ways to show your gratitude and appreciation and really focus your thoughts on the country that we live in. First and foremost is talking about it with your family. And there are other ways to celebrate it too. If you ever see a serviceman or woman this week, or any time for that matter, and your kids, just go up and say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. They literally know what you're talking about. My children and I and my husband have been doing this for years and years, and it's something that makes us feel so good to be able to do, and it makes the servicemen and women that we thank. It's such a simple gesture, but it's so meaningful, and it has really touched them as they've told us in the past. And we go up, whether it's in the airport and we stop because there's a ceremony or a couple of people coming home and there are people there waiting, we always stop and wait with them. Or if we're in McDonald's and there's a group of them, you know, from wherever they're traveling to or from in uniform, we always go up and say thank you for your service. And they really appreciate it, and I will tell you, it makes you feel doing it, and especially children, so good. One of my favorite stories is when we were in our car with, I guess, all four kids were probably 9 and under, and my husband and I were driving up 95 in the Northeast, probably somewhere from Connecticut to Rhode Island, and there was a huge convoy, 20, 30, I don't know, maybe 40 trucks, you know, when you see those on the road, and I just rolled down the window and started waving and saying thank you. I mean, you can mouth it, they know what you're saying, and all the kids rolled down the windows, and they were waving and shouting, and it was so wonderful, and all the service, you know, the drivers rolled down their windows, and everybody was waving and saying thank you for thanking us. I mean, it was just so wonderful and powerful, and my kids, even though the youngest I think was probably 1 or 2 at the time, they still talk about it, how awesome that was and how amazing it made them feel, but that they could see on the faces of these servicemen and women that they just appreciated a bunch of, you know, a car full of kids driving by on a Sunday afternoon thanking them for their service. And I think what they really appreciated is the fact that my kids were doing that because we had showed them that there was something behind that. And so I think that's a wonderful thing to do anytime you see a serviceman or woman. In fact, just the other day at the grocery store, there was a woman looking in the aisle, and I went up and said thank you for your service, and a bunch of other people just came up and said the same thing, yes, thank you, and it was just so nice, and she appreciated it. It was great. So that's a super easy thing to do, whether it's this week, particularly if you go to the parade or see veterans around, thank them. Although Memorial Day is more to celebrate the servicemen and women who've lost their lives in service, it's also a time for us to remember them clearly and feel grateful for their sacrifice, but also to thank those that are still serving or have served that are here that we can thank. So veterans, especially if there's any veterans you know in your family or friends, you know, thank them as well. So you can do that this week or anytime, because really that's something, you know, that's wonderful to do all the time. And this week also, if you wanted to, if you don't have a lot of servicemen or women in your town or area, or think you're going to run into any, there are always all sorts of things you can do to support the troops. You can find your, a local organization that helps support them. You can always donate a very small donation to Wounded Warriors or one of the many other organizations that support our troops and veterans. And again, pointing it out to your children as you do it, why it's important that really everything we have, everything we're able to do is because of the men and women who protect us and protect our freedom, because that's really what it's about, and that's what the sacrifice is. So we need to appreciate it, and we need to feel good about the country we live in, despite any problems you may have with it. It doesn't matter, because it's still one of the best places in the world. And frankly, I always tell my kids, if you don't like it, do something about it. If there is something you don't like, do something about it. And that includes voting and everything else. So that's a whole nother weekly tip. But this tip, obviously, I feel strongly about. And the tip is basically shape your thoughts, help your children shape theirs, for gratitude for our country, for the amazing country we live in, and for all of the opportunities it gives us no matter who we are. Look at Oprah Winfrey if you ever have to question that this country has opportunities. My gosh, look where she came from and look where she is today. I mean, there's an example for you of the American dream. And despite that, because of that, everybody just remember and remind your children that it's a wonderful country to live in, that we should be grateful and appreciative for the country and for the servicemen and women who have served us in the past and made so many sacrifices and who continue to serve us. So that's the tip. I know it's a little longer than usual, and I'm sorry. Again, if it's really just about shaping your thoughts this week, that's okay. Just do that. That's perfectly fine, and that's enough for a weekly tip. But if you want to go a little deeper and a little further, take one of those other suggestions. Oh, and here was another one. I'm sorry, but this, again, it's Memorial Day week. So, and I'm going to do this with my kids, and hopefully by now you'll see the pictures posted. But make some signs. If you want to get the kids involved with technology, have them just make some poster board signs or just printer paper and, write on them. It doesn't have to be fancy. And just say thank you or thank you for your service, and put an American flag up or draw an American flag or whatever, and just post it. Have them, the older kids, post it on Instagram or make a little video saying thank you. It can be 10 seconds. Post it on Instagram, post it on YouTube. Get the kids involved with technology and, the things that they love anyway. So if they're going to do something, post that. So that was just one fun tip, and hopefully I'll get my kids to do that too, or we'll have already by the time this video comes out. So that's it. That's a weekly tip. Thanks for bearing with me. And now it's your turn. As always, the best discussion happens over at CherieFogarty.com after the video. So when you're finished watching this, go there and leave a comment now. I'd love to hear from you. What are you going to do this week, or what have you done this week to celebrate and be grateful for our country? Did you go to the parade? If you did, send some pictures of it. Post some pictures in our gratitude community. If your kids have made signs or you've made signs, always check with them first. Make sure it's okay if you post them. And post those as well. That would be great. We'd love to see those. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being a mom and everything you do, or dad, each and every day to be the best one you can be. And here's to all of us creating a better world, one child and one family at a time. Head on over to CherieFogarty.com, leave a comment, and I'll see you soon. Thanks again for watching.